Yo, welcome, beautiful souls, beautiful beings. Welcome back to Crystalline Temple. Thank you so much for tuning into this frequency. Damn, that hurt my throat. It's too strong of a gulp. Y'all ever just like swallow something a little too much and you're like, damn. I'm sorry, throat. I'm sorry, throat. Anyway, moving on. Have you ever felt like you've outgrown your old self? Like the vibration, the patterns, the cycles, the ways you once used to live no longer bring you joy, no longer belongs to you. There's this disconnect, almost as if you've stepped into a new reality, but a part of you still lingers in the old one, holding on, grasping for its dear life. I feel like we've all had those times, and you could be in this moment right now. What if I told you that the old self, the new self, and every version of you in between has always been you? That nothing was ever wasted, nothing was ever lost, all walking yourself home. With this being said, each version of you at each stage of your life has its own frequency and its own vibration, its own energy signature. As you decide to change or shift, and you notice like maybe it's a tug of war, or maybe things aren't working out like they used to, or things start becoming a little slippery, you start tripping. This we can perceive as somebody has the evil eye on me and things just aren't working out. There must be some type of spiritual blockage that is outside of yourself, but really it might just be your old self, because your old frequency is like an entity that you have created. It is only trying to feed off of the energy that you can provide it to merely exist. And would you think that frequency wants you to step into a new version of you? Think of it as being constipated, knowing it's time for you to get the shit out, time for you to move on, but it just won't come out yet because it wants to be in you forever. But then you get some laxatives, and then you move on to the next version of your life, and everything just flows all nice and juicy. Anyways, scratch that. Moving on. The old self is not your enemy. It's the shadow that carried you through the shell that cracked so your spirit could expand. The old vibration wasn't wrong. It was simply a frequency that matched what you believed, what you needed, what you were able to hold at that certain time in your life. Now the new self, new vibration, the new reality, it isn't some distant version you're chasing. It's simply you choosing the frequency that you've always been capable of, like changing the station on the radio. This song was always there. You just had to turn the dial. In the Hermetic teachings, it is said, as above, as below, as within, as without. The old reality you saw outside of you was merely a mirror of the inner vibration you carried and embodied at one point in time. Rise in frequency, reality bends to reflect it. This is not magic, this is simply law. The soul has no timeline, it only expands, and it does contract. That's why the new self feels so unfamiliar and deeply familiar at the same time, because you are meeting an eternal version of you that you've always been, yet only now are you ready to embody. I've been reading this book finally called Outsmarting Reality by Neuro Knowledge. If you haven't checked him out, check out his videos. And I love this book so much already because it's simple to understand and digest. And the way he explains the old self is just spot on. I'm going to quote here. This is my resource. Your old frequency will forever be the only thing that holds you back from your frequency, and as a result, your new reality. The moment you begin the journey of creating your desired reality, you threaten the existence of something you never knew existed, and that is your old frequency. Your old frequency is a living entity with its own psychology and its own goals. So long as you are unaware of how it thinks, you will always be a step behind it, unconsciously driven towards its goals without realizing. All those times when it felt like your life was spiraling out of control, it was always in your control, but unfortunately in the control of your old frequency. Which frequency, which version of you do you want control over your reality? If your old self is your enemy and not your ally, then you can only continue to see that reflected in the external reality. If your old version of yourself is an ally, you're still gonna have that experience of great things and amazing things are happening, but maybe I just want to take it up a notch. The easiest way to think of your old frequency is as your doppelganger existing on the spiritual plane. I don't know why, but I think of the movie Us and how the main character had a version of herself in this upside down underworld. And technically she was from there, and the other version of her got stuck there. That's a whole story. But I think of this concept of we have multiple vibrations that we exist on. Which one are we tuning into? Which one are we running away from? What does it look like? How does it express itself? Because if you have no awareness of these other versions of yourself, you will never really know how to break free of these cycles, because you can't even comprehend that you are in control to begin with. For anything can exist, it must exist vibrationally first. If you are not able to match the vibration of the reality that you choose to live in, or the version of yourself that or the version of yourself that you desire to embody, then there will be no manifesting it. It's kind of simple as that. Going back to the doppelganger perspective, what version of you, what entities are you feeding, creating, and where are they going to take you? Okay, how are they going to feed off of you? How are you going to feed off of them? And I would hope that I choose to feed the entity or the doppelganger of abundance, of my most abundant self. I'd hope to feed and nourish the doppelganger of joy, of discipline, of non-reactivity, of peace, versus the doppelgangers of fear, self-doubt, chaos, manipulation, self-sabotage. All of these are choices, really, once you become aware enough to realize that you are always in control this whole time. We like to think that it's always something outside of ourselves that is causing us to have these flaws, and I'm not saying like there aren't external circumstances, but once again, make sure your inner world is set, charged, protected, full of the right intentions. Within you dwells the kingdom of heaven. The Most High dwells within you. Because we like to think that the external world is so distant from us, and so disconnected, but even collectively speaking, this is a illusion of our inner world. And this is going to lead into another book recommendation I have called The Mastery of Self. I want to say it's by Don Ruiz, the dude that wrote The Four Agreements. Must read. I feel like that book and this book go like hand in hand. Most of us don't need to find ourselves. We simply need to stop getting in our own way. We need to stop believing the mind when it says, you're not ready, you can't do it, you don't deserve it, this is gonna happen the wrong way, what if this happens? It's like, no, you need to learn how to train your noggin. May your thoughts be of love. May they only be what you desire. May you match the vibration of which you seek, not the vibration of which you fear. Self-mastery is not control. Self-mastery is alignment. It's knowing when the ego is trying to protect us with fear, choosing instead to act from your higher self, from a state of love, peace, confidence, trust, faith. It's remembering that every time you outgrow the old version, you are not abandoning yourself. You are upgrading the harmony of your being. So today, ask yourself, where am I still identifying with the old version of myself? The old story, the old timeline, the old vibration? And can I allow myself to think that version of me, then step forward into the new? The new self isn't someone else. The reality isn't somewhere else. It's always been you, and it's always been within you. The question is, are you ready to stop getting in your own way? Remember, mastery of self is the highest freedom. And the new you is simply the real you uncovered. Thank you so much for being present with me through this video and this randomness. Hopefully you've received some seeds, some messages, food for thought. May this be a new start of shifting your reality and your mindset and your awareness to a version of your reality that you want. And sending you guys all the love. Take care.